Welcome to the Knowledge for Men show. Your life will never be the same.
Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development.
I want to die empty of regret. I want to die empty of my best work. We don't understand who we are. Instead, we're living out somebody else's narrative.
What one man can do, another man can do. If it's been done, it can be done again.
Being yourself and being your truest, most authentic self in every moment. If it scares you or makes you a little afraid, do it. Follow your heart and your gut.
The first stage, I think, is finding you, like finding out who I am today.
Stuff will not work. You will have things that fail. Success is when you're a happy, fulfilled person. How do you define success?
It's your life, and you are the creator of the movie script that is your life story.
How would you like to become unstoppable, irresistible, and unafraid in every area of your life? Get free instant access to my Double Your Confidence program. Get free instant access to my Double Your Confidence program to become a person of action, overcome any obstacle, and scale any height. Go to kfmconfidence.com to get instant access to my program. Again, that's kfmconfidence.com. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I'm here with John Lee Dumas, the founder of Entrepreneur on Fire and host of the top-ranked podcast, Entrepreneur on Fire. John, how you doing today?
Andrew, I am fired up to be here, my friend. I can actually honestly say I'm prepared to ignite.
All right, excited to have you here. And so we start off every show with a favorite success quote or some sort of saying that the guest has lived by that's helped them on their journey from where they once were to where they are now today.
The inflection quote for me, I heard for the first time at 32 years old. And Andrew, this changed everything for me. Like everything that's come since then has really been hinged on this quote by Albert Einstein, which, quick side note, I'm actually listening to his biography by Walter Isaacson right now. Amazing. And that quote is, try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value. Albert Einstein. And the brilliance within that, Andrew, for me, the light bulb that went on was that I had been trying to be a person of success my entire life, and I had failed my entire life up until then about being an actual success, at least what I defined as successful. And I didn't know why, but that quote just made all the sense in the world. I realized for the first time in my life, hey, how about being a person of value first and foremost and letting success follow that? That led to the launch of EO Fire and everything that you've seen since then. Of course, Podcasters Paradise, which you're a valued member of. So thank you for that and all the greatness that's still to come.
Yeah. And what did you mean by like you were chasing success? Like what did that look like? Is this like a job that you didn't like? Is this pursuing things that just weren't really aligned with who you were, but was something that society said that, oh, this is success?
The last thing that you just said. For me, I was letting success be defined by the outside world that, oh, of course, being a lawyer is successful. So I went to law school. Well, I hated it, so I quit. Well, hey, being in corporate finance is successful. So I went to John Hancock and I died a slow death in a cubicle. Well, hey, there's a lot of real estate people that are really successful. And so like I went there and just did not like any of these things because I was letting success be defined, number one, by other people. And I was chasing after success first and foremost. I had to flip it on its head and say, value first. How can I actually bring value to this world? And that changed everything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just all the things that you've done, it's been incredible. When you're in that position of you're following what society wants you to do, you're having this job that it's not really aligned with, your purpose, your passions, things that you really want to do. I feel like a lot of guys listening are in that space. They're in that mode where they're probably listening to this on their way to a job they don't like, but that's why they're listening, taking that first step here. But the fear that people have is, if I quit, like, what am I going to do for money? I have a mortgage, I have kids. How am I just, is it selfish of me to start focusing on the things that I want to do? Like, what about these other obligations that I already have?
I have to be honest, we all have responsibilities and they all need to be addressed. That's a reality of life. So there's no easy, quick answer to that. It's not like, just quit everything today and go frolicking off into the land of awesomeness. Like, it doesn't work that way. We need to go at this very strategically. It's going to take a lot of hard work. As Gary Vaynerchuk says, you got to join the land of 7 to 2 o'clock. And that's 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. And you know what? If you need that next paycheck, if you need to support a family or have debt or et cetera, that's what it's going to take to break free. It's working on your side business, the side hustle from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. And that's what it's going to be for some people. For me, luckily, at 32, when I had my revelation, I didn't have a family. I had some savings, so I did have some sort of a runway, and I could afford to go all in from day one. And there are some people that can do that, and they should, but there are some people that really need to focus on the side hustle until that side hustle provides them with enough revenue that they can safely make that leap. And safe in quotations is never safe. It's not safe to stay in your corporate job right now because you might get fired tomorrow. Corporate America is not safe. It's not safe to stay in any government job. You might get fired tomorrow. What is safe is working on yourself as an entrepreneur and to really get skills going to allow you to adapt to this changing world. I know that I could wake up tomorrow with $0 in my pocket and I'd be okay because of the skills I've acquired over the years of being an entrepreneur. So that is a really big focus. Love the side hustle.
Yeah, love the side hustle. We share a similar type of story. Like I was working a retail management job here in San Diego, and it was probably when I decided I was going to quit, it probably was 6 months until I actually quit. Like I knew I was going to quit. So anytime I got these assignments, I was just like, all right, yeah, I'll do it. Like, I was actually getting promotions during that period when I wanted to quit. I was like, what? But I was saving money like crazy. I was selling almost everything I owned. I was going through just everything. I was putting it all on eBay. I was going to Craigslist. I was pawning things. I even moved back home, and I was fortunate to have that opportunity so that I could save up all my money and just give myself a run rate until that day when I finally did just quit and went all in. And you said 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I feel like I was doing 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. just like on the regular, even when when I first started. And it did take some time, about a year, until I started to become profitable. I think I was just losing money for about a year, all that savings I had. So I'm wondering, in your case, turning the mic back over to you, how long was it until you saw this is something that can work? Because podcasting, generally, you don't make money just, I have a podcast. People think people just throw money at you. It's much more than that. And so if you could walk us through a bit of when you quit that job, and I know that how you started the podcast and you wanted to do a daily podcast, and that was your kind of niche way into this whole space. Talk about those days. You're doing a daily podcast and not making any money.
It was 9 months. I had the idea in June of 2012.
Now, do a lot of people know that 9 months? Because I think a lot of people think that you were this instant success. From people that I know in circles, it's like, oh, Dumas, you got lucky, da da da. And I just wanted to point that out. 9 months. Keep going. I'm sorry. That really struck me.
Luck is where effort meets opportunity, my friends.
Right.
So 9 months from idea to actual revenue generation. I spent 3 months behind the scenes with a mentor and a mastermind getting that launch ready. I launched in September 2012 and generated no revenue for the following 6 months post-launch. I was trying a lot of things. Some things were working, some things weren't. Most things weren't. And it wasn't until actually April of 2013 that the Midroll approached me, which is a company that gets sponsors for podcasters, and said, hey, we think we can get some sponsors for you. What do you say? And by the end of that weekend, because we talked on a Friday, so by Sunday night, I had an email from them that they had filled out my following month of May at $12,000. And I said, whoa, I went from almost $0 per month to a 5-figure revenue generating podcast. And that really started the trend. So it took about 9 months from idea, 6 months from launch. But then things really started happening fast with that domino, because I launched a couple of months later Fire Nation Elite, which was a membership mastermind generating 5 figures a month, low 5 figures, about $12K a month too. And then I launched Podcasters Paradise about 6 months after that, which started generating some significant revenue pretty quickly. And now is over 2,800 members at over $3.5 million in total revenue. And then it was Webinar on Fire, and now it's the Freedom Journal. So it's all been growing off of it. But I want to be very clear to the listeners is that I had no idea what was going to happen with EO Fire. I just knew that I wanted to create a free, valuable, and consistent podcast, grow an audience, and then let that audience share with me what was going to work and what they needed, the pain points, the obstacles, the challenges that they needed me to provide solutions for. And that's how everything's progressed with EO Fire. So if you don't have any idea how you're going to generate revenue, focus on the value. Focus on providing your audience with free, valuable, and consistent content, and then let them tell you and show you the way to monetization.
Yeah, I mean, just hearing this, I've heard this many times, but just hearing it, it's like music to my ears. I just love hearing the struggle. I love hearing the success that's coming here. Now, what you said right away was, you said it was 9 months, and I kind of called that out. But the next thing that I took was, you weren't making any money, but you're investing in yourself. You said you invested in coaching and different masterminds. And I think that right there is just something that seems to be missed. It's like, oh, I can't invest in those things until I make money. But I don't think you're going to make money until you invest in those things.
It really is that inverse effect there. It's, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's all of these questions that I get all the time. And the reality is this: until you are willing to step outside of your comfort zone, no magic is going to happen. No magic happens in your comfort zone as much as you want it to. In my comfort zone for 32 years, I remained and no magic happened. But the minute that I stepped outside of my comfort zone and I swung the bat and I invested in myself, I went to conferences, took courses, masterminds, coaches, you name it. When I invested in myself by doing that, by getting out of my comfort zone, that's when things started to happen. So that's where you need to be day one, is saying, hey, how can I invest in myself? And it doesn't always have to be money, Andrew. That's why I talked about the 7 to 2. It can be time, energy, bandwidth. So invest in yourself in those ways.
Yeah. And this is a part of that hero's journey, just listening to this. And I'm wondering, before that mid-roll opportunity came, which seemed like a big peak, a big turning point in EO Fire, was there ever a point 6 months in? I mean, I do a bi-weekly podcast, and I'm like, at one point I was like, man, I got to switch back to just once a week. And I'm like, if John's doing daily, I got to at least maintain my bi-weekly.
Yes.
And so I never dropped it, but I can only imagine the work, especially when you're first getting started, compared to what you do now. I'm sure you have systems. It's much easier to do daily. But when you first started, you're basically just doing everything. Did you ever have a moment where you're like, I might quit? Like, maybe this isn't for me. Quitting's not bad. Like jiu-jitsu, you tap out all the time, and it's not bad. But did that ever come to your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell that story real quick. There's no hesitation there. But, before I do want to kind of also agree with you and say that, I mean, quitting is not always bad, because as entrepreneurs, all we have is time. And there's this sunk cost fallacy that so many entrepreneurs let drag them down, that just because they spent X number of dollars or time doing something, they should keep doing it until they get that return. And that is just not the case. Sometimes the best way to get out of a hole is to stop flipping digging. So you need to be evaluating where you are as an entrepreneur, when to shift, when to pivot, or when to just scrap it and start over. Now, for me, when I launched EO Fire, things were great. I was on New and Noteworthy. I was getting 3,000 downloads a day. Life was good. I seemed to be on an uptick. And then I dropped out of New and Noteworthy at week 9, because you get 8 weeks on New and Noteworthy. So my time in the spotlight had ended and my downloads plummeted. I went from 3,000 listens a day to like 700 and less at points. Oh, yeah. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is the beginning of the end. And like, that was a pretty low point. I was 2.5 months into my podcast, and I thought that it was over before it ever even really got going. And that was really depressing, but I kept faith in what I was doing. That's another reason why it was great to have a month to a month and a half of episodes in the bank.
Right.
Because, even if I was just super depressed that I couldn't get out of bed, which was never the case. But even if that happened, right, I still would have had episodes going live because I had a month in advance ready to go. And that helped me get through that dip, just knowing, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let some episodes go by. I'm going to see where I'm at in a couple weeks. And, things started kind of to tick up, but that is the process.
Yeah. And what he means by in the bank is he's just done a bunch of episodes in advance and they're ready to go. So
no, I actually mean Chase Bank right down the road here.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So we've gone through your journey in quick detail, and I think many of my listeners have know who you are. You're big in the podcast space. I'm curious now, like if you could walk me through. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm always interested in not only the hero's journey, but just taking it like really small in the minute details of the day-to-day life of someone. Maybe that's just my weird thing, but I'm curious to know, John, like what does your day-to-day kind of hustle look like? Like waking up, are you a 4:30 guy? Are you like a 5:30 guy? And then if you could walk us through tasks and even like if there's hobbies and things that you do during the day to stay focused and also fulfilled.
So the critical thing to know about my day is that it actually starts the night before. I'm a huge believer in getting at least 7, and I actually strive for 8 hours of sleep a night. I'm a huge believer in getting that rest, that recharge. I think it's critical if you're going to perform as an entrepreneur. So take care of yourself. And then I'm up at 5:30 every day. That's my alarm clock. I jump out of bed. Sometimes I slowly like roll out of bed. I'm not going to lie. It's not always like, bird singing and all this stuff. Like it's especially in San Diego now in the winter. It's dark at 5:30. It's pitch black and it gets a little chilly, believe it or not. But I get out of bed at 5:30. I'm consistent. And the first action that I take, after I brush my teeth and all that good stuff, is I do what is now a 90-minute walk. Now that sounds pretty extreme, but I'm committed to doing 10,000 steps a day. That's what I'm committed to. And that's how long it takes. I do a 90-minute walk, which is broken up by a quick 7-minute circuit workout right in the middle. So about 5,000 steps. I do a 7-minute workout. By the time I get back to my place, I'm ready for some nice breakfast. So cook a nice healthy breakfast every morning, like to spice that up a little bit. And it's not until then I sit down on my computer and actually open up my email. And that's kind of what I dive into first. So I spend the first 90 to 120 minutes of every day focused on me, on exercise, on health, with brushing my teeth and with taking a shower and with eating a good breakfast. That's where I focus on first. And the rest of my day is really organized. I'm a big calendar guy, so everything's on my calendar. I have commitments that I stick to every single day, writing newsletters, checking in with my communities, XYZ. And then I will just follow whatever that calendar is, and it will usually have been locked in at least 2 weeks prior. So you can't get on my calendar anytime in the next 2 weeks. That's kind of where I'm at. I kind of have that floating barrier going forward. So then my days are really committed like that, where I block off time for me, then also time that I've committed to other people. So my day is very structured. It definitely varies greatly because I'm always doing different things and focusing on different areas. But I will say it's a very disciplined and calendared schedule.
And just listening to it, I feel like it's that discipline to doing the work, getting up and just that discipline of having that habit, that self-discipline of getting what needs to be done every single day consistently over a long period of time. I think sometimes we want to hear I wake up and, I immediately call, Richard Branson and it's just like, oh my God, John's crazy. Like he's doing so much, but it's this day-to-day grind. And I'm impressed with that 90-minute walk. That's
yeah.
So how do you balance the, I find the more that money that you're making, the more that your business is growing, the more success that you're having, it's how do you balance that work-life balance? Because if you just work more, you could make more. If you just spend more time on this, if you create another program, if you do another webinar, if you do this or that, if you start investing in another program, or there's just so much that you could be doing. How have you balanced that work-life balance in your career?
Well, number one, I don't actually agree with that statement that you work more to make more. I think there's a massive law of diminishing returns. And I think as entrepreneurs, we really need to balance that. We need to say, hey, I'm going to be doing my best when I'm at my best. And if I start putting out less than quality work because I've been overworking myself and I'm tired and I'm just not doing the quality, I'm going to lose the trust. I'm going to lose the commitments. I'm going to lose the faith of my listeners, of my followers. And you're going to suffer. So I'm a big believer in saying, hey, I know when I'm at my best. I have my peak hours of the day where I am producing, and then I know when to shut it down so that I can live to fight another day. I'm not one of these hustle my face off people like Gary Vaynerchuk. God bless him. He can do it. Yeah. He does it. He's off to the races. That's not me. I know myself. I know that at 6 p.m., I like to turn my computer off and I like to watch Downton Abbey. That's what I'm getting into. And that's what I like. And I'm going to shut off off and I'm going to recharge and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to be able to tackle a nice solid 10 hours of work. And that's a big day. That's a long day and I can do it and I'm consistent with it. And there's a lot of great stuff that gets done there. But I also know when to shut it off because I'm not doing my best work and I'm not willing to put out less than the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I did interview Gary, and that was I think he's an awesome guy. I read all his books, but yeah, he's probably one of the hardest workers. Like the definition of hustle, like his face is in the dictionary if you guys haven't checked that one out yet. All right, this has been really good, just capturing the story, capturing the lessons, and capturing the day-to-day grind. We often overlook that day-to-day hustle and want something else, but for me, I find so much value in that. John, let's dive into the knowledge round. Just going to ask you some rapid-fire questions here. Are you ready for the knowledge round?
Yes, sir.
All right. After 200 plus interviews, I've identified the most common trait of success as confidence. Whether you're trying to achieve financial freedom or improving your relationships, confidence is what separates those who get what they want in life and those who don't get what they want in life. So before a man sets out on his journey, it's important that he has the confidence in himself to accomplish his goals and his dreams. You have to have this area of your life taken care of in order to create the life that you want. That's why I've created a free program to double your confidence in less than 30 minutes with this weird but simple set of exercises. Go to kfmconfidence.com. Again, that's kfmconfidence.com to transform your life. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. So, John, I love the purpose that you've had since you've started this whole thing. It's inspired millions of people, and even myself included, a big boost in this whole community as well that I've built. So that's just insane what you've done. And that's been like the purpose. And like, I'm wondering, what advice would you give to someone who doesn't have that sense of purpose or sense of direction of where they want to go in?
I'm a huge believer in setting and accomplishing goals. And so if you don't actually have a goal that you're working towards right now, that needs to change. And something we're going to talk about in a couple minutes here is very specific to that. So just hang tight.
I like it. Yeah, and we certainly will. John, what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
Just the lack of knowledge that I could do what I'm currently doing now. I didn't realize that there was this amazing online entrepreneurship. I didn't know that I could turn on a microphone and speak into it and potentially be heard by hundreds and thousands and millions of people around the world. I just wasn't aware. So it was lacking knowledge.
Yeah. On this journey, I know you've been around so many influential authors and you're reading a ton. What would you say are just, let's say, 2 of your most influential books that have helped you on your journey that you've been on?
Well, if I'm going to name 2, I'm going to name 2 that really go back to back with each other. And the first one that people should definitely read is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. This is an incredible book that just shares with you the importance of doing the small things right every single day and what that can actually mean in the long run. And then number 2 is going to be The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. He was actually mentored by Jeff Olson, and a lot of what's in The Compound Effect was inspired and was really expounded upon by Darren Hardy. And it's just a phenomenal read.
Yeah, 2 books that I think really resonate with you. Like kind of just looking at your story, I wouldn't be surprised that you picked those books out. So really good here. This is kind of a fan favorite, question here, and it's more of a scenario. And so, John, imagine right now some spiritual stuff happened, and you could see your 25-year-old self, and you're sitting right next to him. Imagine that you could talk to him for just 60 seconds. Like, what would you tell that version of John, the younger version of John? What would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
I wouldn't need 60 seconds. I would look at him and I'd say, JLD, chill the F out. Stop taking life so gosh darn seriously. You're young. Enjoy it. Enjoy every day. Enjoy the journey.
And I'm just going to throw one of your questions at you because I just think it'd be funny. But what would you do if you had $1,000 in a laptop and you had to start over again?
I would say, wow, that's actually twice as much money as my question.
Right.
So
you've been asked this before.
I'm rocking and rolling. That's amazing. But what I would do is I would honestly have to get online. I would see where people are actually hanging out that are influencers in my area. Like I would go to meetup.com. I would see what events are going on. And then I would go to that event organizer and I'd say, listen, let me fund this. Let me buy some drinks. Let me buy some food. Let me have it catered. And all I'm asking is just to allow me to kind of be at the door and introduce myself as people enter. And I would be there and I would introduce myself. I'd say, hey, I'm actually, putting this on. I'm sponsoring this event. My name's John. Enjoy the food, enjoy the drinks. It's on me. And I would just introduce myself to people as they came into that event. And then as the people have all showed up, I would then start to go around and mingle and say, hey, I got to say hi to you when you came in. I'd like to kind of maybe talk a little bit more about what you have going on. And of course, the law of reciprocity is going to work because they've been eating my food and drinking my drinks. And I would set up some coffee meetings for the rest of that week and have a blast.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, what role has networking played on with Entrepreneur on Fire?
The biggest, absolutely the number one role. I mean, it's been the relationships that I've formed with the over 1,200 past guests of EO Fire that have made it the success that it is today.
Yeah. And that's, when you say 1,200, that's, I mean, I feel like wherever you go, like any sort of event that you go to, like the whole lineup of people have been on your show. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah. And if they haven't, I've been like, what are you doing here?
You don't have John's approval. All right. So now, I'm curious to know, like, you're making some noise here. Actually, why I got you on the show. What's new? What's coming out? What are you excited for right now?
I'm excited for my passion project, the Freedom Journal, Andrew. It was an idea that came to me a year ago, almost to the day. It was January 2015. I was getting asked a question by so many people. They were saying, John, like, what is the magic bullet to success of all of your guests? You've interviewed so many successful entrepreneurs. And I stepped back and I said, you know what, man, there is one commonality. They all know how to set and accomplish goals. And people that I see struggling in this world don't know how to do that. So I wanted to create an epic tool that would allow people to do just that. And I wanted it to be special. I wanted it to be a physical product that really made a difference in this world and to people that actually invested in themselves with it. So I created the Freedom Journal, which is a beautiful leather-bound, gold embossed journal that you can just be proud of having on your desk, on your nightstands. And the sub-headline of the Freedom Journal is set and accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. And that's exactly what we have you do. We have you set and accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. Now, most people fail with goals, Andrew, because they don't even know how to set a goal. So we teach you how to set a SMART goal day one: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bounds. And then we guide you through the accomplishment of that goal in 100 days with daily tasks, with nightly recaps. We have 10-day sprints for your micro goals. We have quarterly reviews to check in and see how you're doing and where you need to adjust, and a ton more going on. And actually, if you're listening to this episode between January 4th and February 6th, we have a killer Kickstarter campaign going on where you can just visit thefreedomjournal.com. Check out what we have going on at that Kickstarter page. We have so many cool bonuses and gifts to go along with this beautiful physical leather-bound journal that are not going to be available after the campaign's over. And if you're listening to this after February 6th, this will be available at thefreedomjournal.com. So just go check it out there and you'll be off to the races and you'll be able to get your own copy too. And this is really a project that I'm passionate about, really bringing significance to this world too, Andrew. So we've actually partnered with Pencils of Promise, which is a killer organization that builds schools in developing countries. And every time we hit a funding goal with the Freedom Journal on the Kickstarter campaign, and then afterwards as well, we're going to continue to be donating proceeds to Pencils of Promise to build schools in developing countries. So, my call to action is this: like, give yourself the gift of setting and accomplishing your number one goal, and also give the gift of education to those less fortunate at thefreedomjournal.com.
And so you've started this campaign. Have you had enough for a school, or do you need more for the school? What's the status of that?
So we have built our first school already through the Kickstarter campaign. I've written a check for $25,000 to Pencils of Promise, which is amazing. Thanks to support from people like yourself, Andrew. So thank you for that. And we're within sight of our next funding goal. And every time we hit a funding goal, we're going to be donating another $25,000 on behalf of the backers to Pencils of Promise.
All right. So the Freedom Journal, and is this going to be on Amazon? Because I mean, a lot of guys will listen to this episode. I also put it on YouTube, so it'll be after this whole date here ongoing. So is it going to be on Amazon in the future?
After February 6th, it'll be right on Amazon.
Okay, cool. For all the guys listening, and it's like 2020 or something. There you go. And John, so that's the present here. I'm a massive supporter of that. I'm excited for that. I think it's incredible. It very much is aligned with kind of the Jeff Olson. It's like very consistent. Having that journal, it looks really nice. What's going on in like summer, winter, like having created a vision for 2016 or going through goals? I'm not asking for like an announcement of like early announcement, but in a way.
Well, there's no early announcement to give, man. This is my 100% focus. I have no plans for anything after February 6th. I have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm totally happy with that.
That's cool. All right. I'm excited to have you here on the show. Like I said in the beginning, it's just it was I for the guys listening, I saw John speak. Man, I think you had just done the mid-roll, and you just launched the mastermind event. Like I remember I was considering that, and then he came out with Podcast Paradise, and it was like super cheap back then.
Yeah,
and, I believe I was like one of the first 100 or first 50 people.
You were a stud.
And just blasted through that program, and you could see what happened here with this community. And so it's been an honor to just kind of bring you back on the show and this community that I've built through, having gone through your program and built, a podcast myself. I'm honored to have you here to get your story to capture on my podcast.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Andrew. Thank you for having me on, my man.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge for Men podcast. Hundreds of interviews and 1 million downloads later, we're continuing to build an international movement, and we've just started. So if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a review in iTunes. It really helps to grow the podcast. Guys, 2015 is the official year of living with purpose, where every day you do only the things that matter to you. You wake up, live with purpose, and take massive action towards the life you want. Check out kfmfree.com to get free tools I've created to help you crush life. Again, that's kfmfree.com. This is your host, Andrew Farabee, and I'll see you in the next episode.